Hi, I'm Kenny Dougall. I'm 27 years old, and I'm a defensive midfielder who currently plays for Barnsley FC in the English Championship.
Brisbane City players, parents, I'd like to introduce Kenny Dougall, an ex-teammate of mine actually at Brisbane Raw many years ago. We've got the privilege of Kenny logging in from the UK and giving up his time to talk a little bit about his career. I think it's a fantastic journey. In short, Kenny and I met at the Raw. He had subsequent years there from '09 to '13. Then joined Brisbane City for just approximately about a year. Kenny, was it just about a year?
Yeah, it was a season and about a third of another season, so just
And
over
then
a year.
Kenny got a great opportunity to go into Holland. Spent 4 years in Holland with two clubs. Then has got the opportunity now playing in the UK English Championship League with Barnsley. So thank you so much, Kenny, for agreeing to come on and having a chat with us.
Cheers, Matt. I'm happy to be here, and I hope I can give the kids some answers.
Yeah, fantastic. I'd like to start going back a few years. So you're a Sanford boy, Sanford Raiders to begin your career. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
I'm 27 in 2 weeks, so that would be almost, I think, 18 years ago now, something around that, 17 years ago, that I joined them, and I obviously that's where my family grew up and where we live. So I started my junior year there until I was 14, um, and then at 15 I joined the QAS, which is changed slightly in recent years, but at 15 I joined the QAS, and started to progress through those ranks, and eventually I joined the Brisbane Royal youth team um, when I was 16. Um, and that was in 2009. And obviously, I had a successful first year at 16. Um, it was it kind of happened quite easily when I was a kid. Obviously, I trained hard every day, and things sort of fell into place. Um, and then when I got myself into the Brisbane Roar, it started clicking again. And then things didn't quite go perfectly. I was still doing all the right things and working hard, but the opportunity to play first team football was not there. I couldn't break in. Obviously, at the team at the time was one of the best teams the A League's ever seen, captained by yours truly. Um, but looking back at things, I wasn't quite good enough, and I couldn't break in, and I had to drop back down to NPL level. With, of course, Brisbane City, and I played there for a year and a half. And I continued to train, I continued to work and do my extras in my own time. And I got the opportunity to go to Holland when I was 21. So I took that and managed to secure a professional contract.
I think that I can vouch, and thanks for the plug. But those years that I think that we both joined at the same time, and the squad and the environment. I think that you're in the same era and age group as your Corey Browns and your Luke Brattons, and I always remember you boys coming up from the youth team and training us in the first team. And credit to yourself. I think that the environment that was created there, every single player, regardless of their first team or youth team, knew the standards and expectations. And one thing that above quality, above the abilities of the players is the ethics of the players. So although things probably didn't quite work out as you planned, one thing that I can say is that from my memory anyway, you're always one of the hardest working players within the U team and within training sessions. So I guess those sorts of baseline competencies are kind of the core ingredients to really give yourself the best opportunity. And from from your, I guess, setback at the Raw, initially, what was some of your objectives or thoughts, or what was going through your mind in terms of next steps?
Yeah, obviously, when you face disappointment like that, it's difficult. You have a million thoughts going through your head, and initially it was, is it me? Am I not good enough? Is it the coach? Am I not getting the right opportunity? Is it a combination of all those things? And during all those thoughts, you still have to keep yourself busy. And I thought of going and playing at MPL level with Brisbane City is not a step back. It's just another chance to play men's football, which at the time, obviously, I was only playing youth football with Brisbane. So I thought, let's keep developing, not give up yet. Have backup plans in your mind for worst case scenarios. If being a footballer is really what you want to do, of course you have to give it everything. But I was studying at the time. I also had a part-time job, so I was keeping busy in the background, but I also had the goal that I wanted to do, and that was obviously to become a professional footballer. And the year that I spent at Brisbane City was a very enjoyable year. We came second in the league, pushing for the title. Unfortunately, we lost the grand final on penalties. So a bit of a disappointment, but overall, that was a very enjoyable season. Still to this day, one of the best seasons I've had. And when I got the opportunity to go to Holland, it was something I couldn't sort of say no to, and I took the chance, and that in itself was a big commitment, because I had to leave the comfort of Australia, of my family, of my friends back home, and sort of go on this adventure overseas and see if I'd make it. And if I did, which unfortunately, sorry, I did. I didn't really know what that meant. That meant, obviously, I live in Europe now, and I've been here for 6 years, and I wouldn't change any of it. But it's little things that you need to think of, and if you're prepared to make these sacrifices, then the world is yours.
Yeah, you even got a little bit of the English accent in there as well now, by the way.
Oh, do I?
Going back a little bit to your time at City, can you recall some memories or some players or the coach there that kind of really helped you through that transition from the Raw into City? You mentioned before you've had a fantastic year there, which is brilliant. Were there any senior players or players there that kind of really helped you enjoy football again?
Well, yeah, there was a few players that I obviously was close with. One of my good mates that I played with at Sanford and still friends with now, sort of I grew up with him, Luca Jeunesse. He was there at the time, and we had a few other boys that I still keep in touch with. We had Antonio Murray, who of course tried for the Brisbane Roar. He was striker, and I still keep in touch with him. So it was just a good group of players that at times it's hard to find. But of course, we're winning games, so it's easier to gel as a squad if you're winning every week. So it was just an environment that was very enjoyable, and I wouldn't change any of it.
And the move into Holland, massive move, fantastic opportunity. Can you explain a little bit how that came about, please?
Well, I came through an agent, Alistair Quinn, who was also at the Raw with me, and of course you. He got me in touch with an agent that helped him get over to Holland, and I had a few chats with him, and he seemed like a really nice guy, really knowledgeable guy. So I took the chance with him. I paid my own way to Holland, and he got me some trials with a few clubs in the Dutch setup, and it all clicked straight away, which was fortunate. And then I came back to Australia, had a few weeks to pack some bags, and got myself back over to Europe before the season started.
Very good. And I guess packing a couple of bags and starting a brand new life in Holland is quite a daunting experience. How old were you then, Kenny?
I was 21, so
21.
I left the trial at the end of the season, so I was still 20. I turned 21 in May, and then came home and started the next season at 21. So it actually came about quite quickly. So it all happened within a month, sort of going over, trialing, coming back, and then a few weeks packing my bags and going. So I kind of didn't really have a lot of time to sort of process it. I said my goodbyes and sort of went. And then when I got there, I realized, apart from Alistair, who was with me, that I don't really have anyone over here. So there's at times when it is tough, and obviously it's good to have someone with you. But again, it's part of the sacrifices that I had to make, and I don't regret any of it.
Yeah. Your first club in Holland was SC Telstar, and the massive cultural difference, massive training and game environment differences from Asia and Australia to Europe. Can you elaborate a little bit on how you adjusted and the differences that you had to overcome, especially probably throughout those first few months? Did the club help you in any way? How were your teammates?
Yeah, the club were great. Obviously, they helped me as much as they can. It was a foreign country, so English not their first language. But luckily in Holland, most people speak English, and that obviously helped with the initial adapting to Europe. And all I can say is my initial memories was training intensity. I was thinking, if this is a small club in the Dutch second division, if they're training at this level with this quality, like it must be a good level, and that only makes you train harder, try harder to beat them, to overcome them, to improve every day, and that's all you can really do.
And you mentioned it there about the training intensity. We had a chat with Dylan Mobbs last week, and he said the exact same thing. Tell us how some of your new teammates at that point really kind of made you better, always put you on your game every single day, fighting for the spots. It's a completely different dynamic.
Yeah, you just said it there. It's fighting for spots. So obviously off the pitch, they're all quite welcoming. It's a new character in the change room. It's a new person. But on the pitch, obviously everyone's fighting for their jobs, for their lives, and you're there to take their spot, and that shows in training. Not anything nasty, but they want you to prove themselves to them. So if you want to take my spot, you've got to be better than me, and obviously it's up to you to show that. And that is kind of the environment over there. It's dog eat dog. It's it's a friendly environment, it's a team environment, but at the same time, everyone is fighting for their livelihoods.
Yeah. And how long after you joined the club, that first contract sign would have been an amazing experience. What were your feelings and emotions when you first put pen to paper?
Yeah, obviously it was fantastic. It's a surreal moment. Obviously, it's something you strive for, or at least for me, my whole life until I was 21. So it's 21 years. And then for it to happen, it's just joy. And obviously the next step was waiting and hopefully making my debut anytime soon. And I called my parents, and obviously the sacrifices they had to make throughout my junior years, it all paid off, and they were just really excited for me, and that's all I can really say on that.
And the memories of your debut?
Yeah, great. It was a rainy night, rainy Friday night in Holland. I came off the bench in the 84th minute, so it was just a little cameo. But we won the game 4-3, and it was actually against my old club who I signed for a season later. So
I saw that.
Was a nice little touch. Yeah. But yeah, it was fantastic. I could come on and in a home match, in a winning match, and keep that debut as a happy memory.
Maybe that debut and the debut goal led to your move a couple of years later. Sparta, absolute massive club. Tell me, would have been an eventful moment, a fantastic career moment for you. Please, would love to know about that.
Yeah, well, obviously, after one season at Telstar, that was it there. So it was around the February, March, April, when clubs start to get their squads ready for next season. I heard they were getting in touch, and obviously you don't think anything of it until it happens. And then obviously I got that call. And at the time they were still in the second division, but obviously it's a massive club. They went through some financial trouble a few years back, so they found themselves in the second tier. But I had to join them at the time because it is a massive club, and from there they had a big clear out. They had a turnover of, I think they signed 7 new players, including myself, and then we went on to have a very successful year, and we won the league, which again brought great memories, and it's why you play football, really, to have these memories. And that led to 2 successful years in the Eredivisie, which I was extremely happy to be in.
So you've I just want to touch on that. So you've gone through the process of joining a new club. People think that winning championships and leagues is the kind of the final product, but can you talk about some of the ongoing processes and the amount of hard work and effort and commitment that's required, like every single day across the course of a season, to give yourself that best opportunity? What are some of the things that you learn that you can pass on as to why teams are successful? Because that's a massive achievement.
Yeah, obviously, that is the $1 million question, and for different teams at different times, it all clicks. And all I can say is, obviously, from my time at the Raw, the mentality throughout the squad really took over onto the pitch. And I think if you can change the culture off the pitch, work ethic, the key principles and stuff like that, that really transfers onto the pitch. And I knew from day one at Sparta, when I signed there, it was a winning club. It was, the players wanted to really gel together, wanted to do something special. And obviously, when you start to win games, that breeds confidence. And early on, we won a lot of games, and we thought, this year could be our year. And it showed in training every day that if players were doing the wrong things, if they were making the wrong decisions, players weren't afraid to tell them. And it was all done, in a professional manner. So we knew that we had to stay within our principles if we wanted to achieve our goals, and that was ultimately win a league and get promoted.
Some fantastic answers, and I guess nothing's achieved overnight. I think it's there's one thing what the coaches see and what you're doing within a club to be able to achieve such a great success, and also it's probably just as important what you're doing away from the football club to ensure that you're giving yourself the best opportunity. So I guess I want to touch on that a little bit later, but the differences in playing in Holland. Obviously, you spent 4 years there. Can you give us a bit of an insight into? We've all seen Dutch football on TV. We've all seen the great players and the great teams. When you're engrossed in it, can you, from your experiences, share your thoughts on Dutch football?
Yeah, I think it's for most of the time it's a fantastic league to watch. It's attacking football. It's technical football. It creates a lot of great players, especially going forward. That are eye-catching, great to watch, and brings people to the stadiums. And playing in those games, I guess you don't really get to watch it as much, because you get focused obviously on doing your roles on the pitch. But throughout my time there, I got to watch a lot of football and a lot of matches, and you see the differences. The players themselves they know their roles a lot more. Tactically, they're quite switched on. I think they let the attackers attack, and the defenders they know their roles. They need to try to get the ball to the attacking players, and I think they keep the basics right, and that was what was good to go through. Every the defenders knew what their roles were, the midfielders knew what their roles were, the attackers knew what their roles were, and that led to some good structured football, and you saw with Ajax last season in the Champions League, they did really well, and it's great for Dutch football.
So you've had all up, you had six successful years. You've got to move into the English Championship. Was that always an ambition to try and move into the English leagues?
Yeah, obviously in Australia, growing up, at least in my time, I think it's quite similar now. We always watch the English game. Being an English-speaking country, it's only natural, but it's one of the biggest leagues in the world, the English Premier League. So you grow up obviously watching the English football and dreaming to be playing in there one day. So that was always a dream of mine. Even when I was in Holland, I always wanted to get myself over to England. And after my years at Sparta Rotterdam, it was an opportunity to join Barnsley. It was in League One. They'd just been relegated from the Championship, so I joined them in League One. Again, they were building a new squad to get themselves back up the leagues, and I joined at a time when the club were looking, to get promoted. And again, I love these situations where you're joining to try achieve one goal, and I knew the team itself was quite good on paper. I knew a few of the names already, so I thought it'd be a great environment to join, and it's all worked out. And I've had a little bit of downs injury wise last season, but I managed to play most of last season injury free, and we came second, which was automatic promotion into the English Championship. And also I got myself into the Socceroos, which was another childhood dream, and that brought great memories again.
I think that following your career the last few years and seeing, I guess, the progression in terms of Europe and Holland and in England, and then into the Socceroos is a massive kudos to your hard work and your ambition to always try and get to that next level. And you touched on it then. You've had some your initial experiences in England were fantastic, and then you had a bit of a setback with the injury. Can you tell us about your injury and how you kind of overcome that? Because you spent several months out, correct?
Yeah, correct. Unfortunately, I broke my leg towards the end of last season, and that took me 7 months between games. So for anyone who's ever been injured, they know the struggles you have to go through, but it's a tough time. Initially, it's fine. You're injured. There's nothing you can do about it. And then the more you can start to do, when you start running again, you start walking, you can start to do a little bit more. It can get frustrating, and at times it was. But again, I had to stay strong. I had to realize what I was doing, and the physios at the club were good, and they had a timeline set out for me. So to sort of break the lengthy time that I had out into blocks, and it was easy to overcome. And yeah, I got past it and started playing again, and luckily for myself, it resulted in another Socceroos call up. I'm still yet to make my debut, but I'm sure if I keep working hard, it will come one day.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think that you hit the nail on the head there. You stay focused and you keep working hard. I think that you're in and around the squads at the moment, and that's down to the performances and the type of person that you are. So I'm sure that opportunity is going to come up, and it's been I guess you could say a challenging year for Barnsley. You've had some great successes in Holland, and there's the mentality and the culture and the environment when things are really successful. Can you explain a little bit about how that's probably a little bit? Is it different? Is it the same? How's the mentality within Barnsley and its current position pre obviously the COVID-19? How's the club and the players and yourself dealt with a different type of challenge?
Yeah, obviously it's a big change at the bottom of the league than it is at the top. When we got promoted, obviously everyone was on a buzz, and the result of good performances, of good individual performances, we lost a few players to bigger clubs who can obviously afford to buy people on better wages, and that affected us a little bit. We had to bring in some new faces, and it took time for us to gel a little bit this season. So initially we struggled, and we started to find a little bit of form recently. But it was always going to be tough this season with the English Championship. We have a lot of people that have not played in this league, including myself before. So, it is a difficult league. And, at times I think in the change room, we haven't been, at the right level. And that showed in the results, and you can see yourself if you're not putting in the little bits, the little extras, the 1%ers that you should be, wherever you can. It can really affect on field performances, and unfortunately we're finding ourselves in quite a bit of trouble this season. So hopefully we can get that out if the season ever continues.
You've given some really good key messages, I guess you could say, throughout the last 20 or 25 minutes or so. But to give yourself the best opportunity to play pro football, and then probably it's just as hard or even harder to stay in the professional environment. What are some of the daily sacrifices or commitments, or some of the things that you do away from the pitch or away from the club that help prepare you or sustain or give you the best chance to perform every single day?
Well, obviously those things change throughout your career. When I was growing up, obviously you have to sacrifice not most, but a lot of social events. So you see your mates start going out on a Friday night, on a Saturday night, and start going out, and you've got a game on the Saturday or the Sunday, and you think, well, I can maybe go out for one, or maybe we'll see what happens. But if you really want to achieve something, you have to do 100%, and those sort of sacrifices, they're not many people see are things you have to do. Ultimately, if that's what you want, they're not really sacrifices. And then throughout my career, you adapt a little bit, and you find out what your body needs. I'm getting a little bit older now. I'm not old.
You're far from old, Kenny. Trust me, you're far from old.
At times, if you're really tired, you might need an afternoon nap, and for periods, for last season, I did that for 30 minutes in the afternoon, and that was to make sure I was ready to go again the next day. And those little things, little signs that your body tells you, are really important, and you should trust them. And that's always what I've done, and maybe that's been the difference so far in my career that's helped me keep going.
I guess that mental strength throughout your career, I think that you spent many years in the professional environment, going through youth development, and now into the pro environment. Has your mentality changed? You spoke then about some of the things that you do away and the sacrifices, but that mental strength, or your ambition, or your desire, how have you coped, or have you stayed focused throughout all those different ranging periods? Has it changed, or has it stayed the same?
I think it's gotten a lot better. I think when I was young, because everything happened a little bit easy until my first real setback, and that was unable to break through at the Brisbane Roar first team. That was kind of when it all changed for me. When I started to think, what little things can I start to change here to make me really give it the best shot I can, and that was just purely looking at myself. What can I change? Not everything. You can't change everything overnight, but little tweaks here and there, and seeing what you can do slightly better and give you the best chance. And that's what I've done my entire career, and hopefully it can continue. And obviously there's things I'll continue to do and take forward.
I guess now is a pivotal time in the obviously the world as such, but for football players, what are some of the things that you're doing on a daily or weekly basis during this COVID-19 to best prepare you for when you return back to training and obviously the club, and how the club helping you, what's your weekly structures like?
Yeah, obviously at the moment it's everything's kind of up in the air with football future and everything, and restart dates. But just like every off season, you sort of have to take care of yourself. You have to eat well. You have to maintain active, and I've just been going for runs, just once or twice a day, just to keep fit. Like every off season, I would do that. We get training programs sent through that we sort of have to stick by. Of course, it's all on the person. You can sit on the sofa for the whole month if you want, and no one will know. But when you get back on day one training, you want to be ready to go, and that's always got to be my mindset, and that is my mindset. So I'm just ticking over. You got to enjoy yourself. Sometimes it's hard to do right now being in lockdown, but when you're away from football, you sort of have to switch off, I think, and think about other things, keep yourself busy, and then when it's time to work, you're ready to go. You're ready to give 100%.
We were saying before that you felt a little bit older, but you're still 26, almost turning 27 your birthday. Only another couple of questions, but what's your next ambition? What are your ambitions? You still have numerous years in football. What are your next steps? What's your ambitions? What are your targets?
Obviously, my target one right now is to break into the Socceroos, not the setup, as obviously I've done that already, but to make my debut. That would obviously mean a lot to me and my family, and I think it's a lot of boys' dreams to play for the national team. So, for me, that would be a great achievement, and I think the greatest achievement that I could do right now. And then domestically, obviously with my club football, I just want to help my club stay in the division, and for a few years try establish myself in the English Championship and see where that takes me. I haven't thought sort of too far along in my footballing career. I just sort of take it a few seasons ahead and see where I want to be. And at the moment, that's in England, and hopefully I can stay here.
If you was to pick a career highlight so far, something that instantly comes into your mind whenever you get asked that question, and you get asked it a lot, I'm sure. But career highlight so far?
There has been a couple. Obviously, I've been promoted twice, so both those days were special, and they'll bring great memories. But I think for me, obviously living over in Europe and my parents still based in Brisbane, they came to visit me one game, and it was a time when I was at Sparta Rotterdam in Holland, and we played against PSV, and I scored a goal. So to score in front of my parents, obviously don't get to see me live every week, was a special moment, and I'm glad I could do that. And I can't hope for it every week because they don't live over here, but it's that's a special moment for me.
Last one, Kenny. Really appreciate your time. There's many aspiring young Brisbane City players. If you could give some advice to them, tell me what that would be.
It's a tough one because obviously everyone's at different levels. Some players develop later than others. Some players early. So if it is something that you wanted to do full time, being a footballer, and I assume most footballers they aspire to be professional footballers. So all I can say is make sure you do the little things when people aren't watching, because that's when you can really make a difference in your game. Obviously, when everyone's watching and it's easy to do the right thing, but if no one's watching and it's just yourself, it's easy to maybe take shortcuts. And I think that's the best advice I could give you, is make sure you're doing little things. If it is something you want to do, obviously you have to sacrifice, and it's little things that you do when people aren't watching.
Kenny Dougall, absolute legend. Thank you so much for taking your time. I know it's quite late over there for you. Stay safe. Good luck with the return back to football, and please, you're welcome at Brisbane City at any time.
Cheers, Matt. Thanks for everything.